It's a real pleasure and an honor to get invited to speak on this forum. So this is just I'm going to run through 30 minutes of my experiments, and I leave you to judge whether those experiments are useful, whether you want to copy and experiment them yourself. So just to give you a brief insight, I'm not an IT person, and I'm not an AI person also. So the analogy that I usually give is that I know how to drive the car, I don't know how the car works. Um, so yeah. But over the years, as you keep driving, you learn a little bit about how it works. So yeah, my primary area is supply chain, and this has for me AI has been a toy, which has given me a lot of pleasure over the last couple of years. Experimenting with some of the tools I'll show you here. Um, and yeah, um, this is just to give you a brief idea into how this system works, how generative AI works. What happens is there is a user input of a text, okay, which is the text could be any language. Uh, the language is then transformed into a vector, which could be a matrix. But try to imagine that the language is getting transformed into a set of numbers. Okay. Um, Now, once it gets transformed to numbers, it becomes understandable and actionable by a machine. So what happens is once it gets transformed into those numbers, this vector that we call it, we then use some process. Now, that process could be a higher end AI program, machine learning program that we don't know of. But since it's now converted into numbers, that process can happen. And then it is retransformed into text and presented to the user. And this is a generic, a very simplified understanding of what happens when we use generative AI. Now, that's where I can hear my voice. Okay. So now, if you, the GPT, the T is transformation, okay? General pre-trained transformer. So that's the idea of transformer, the transformation process on the text to numbers and numbers back to text. And yeah, so when we look at let's say movement from 3 to 3.5 to GPT-4 and even all these other models, there are two aspects that happen. One is the training data, the pre-trained data. What is the size of that pre-trained data? And second is what is the efficiency of that transformation? So that's how these models evolve. But that's a very high level generic kind of understanding of what GPT is. Now, before I begin, this is how I've tried to classify all Gen AI applications, whether in teaching or research. As academics, we love two by twos. Um, yeah, I'm no exception. Um, so this is a two by two I created, where I said that the basic idea, i- i- is either design or execution, and the two things that we do. Um, Majorly teaching or research, we can use it for both sides. In this 30 minutes that I have, I'm just going to focus on teaching. And my primary focus in teaching will be on the execution side. I'll show you some other tools briefly. And towards the end of, I'll give you all the links also of what I have, so you don't have to kind of worry about the links and some of the yeah, I'll share everything. Any questions at this point? All right, so let's start with this idea of teaching execution. One of the biggest problems I have encountered is that my our students actually don't know how to use these LLMs. One of the things they do is when you give them an assignment, they take the entire assignment, paste it on Chat GPT, and say that please make this for me, which would have very inefficient results, which is not the right way to approach GPT. And another thing that is, you know, this is something that I'll bring this up in a bit. I was with some professors at FGCU, and I tried to bring this up that if your students can copy your assignment prompt and paste it on GPT and get a reasonable answer, you are the problem. So they didn't like it whenever you tell, but that's a fact. That's a fact. I still believe that if your assignment is postable on GPT and it gives a reasonable answer, you are the problem. The student is not the problem. But anyways, so the bigger issue here is that a lot of times students don't know how to use GPTs. So our first task in teaching is to create a process where we teach our students how to use GPTs. Okay, and in a very structured way. It's like teaching how to use a calculator. So this is a first assignment that I have designed. I'll explain this assignment in a bit. So this is the first assignment I've designed on teaching students how to use Chat GPT. So if you go to this link, and I'll just go back to the presentation so you can use your phones and go to the link if you want to. Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do here is the assignment is very simple. They'll have to craft a 1,000-word article tailored for a high school magazine exploring diverse facets of supply chain management. This is the article basic idea prompt, and they're allowed to use any LLM, large language model, Chat GPT, Gemini, or Copilot, whatever they want to use. But I give them very good steps, saying that first, this is the prompt that they need to give the LLM, saying that I want you to write a 1,000-word article, da da da. This is the details of all the article. And in the end, the prompt does not say write an article. It says what additional information is needed to write the article. That's the question. Okay. Now, these LLMs are pretty smart. They'll ask you who's the audience, what is the intended impact. Everything that we try to teach students in saying that this is how to write impactful articles, GPT will ask them those questions. So, and when professors tell things, sort of evaporate. But when GPT tells them, I believe it would stick better. So what is happening here is, so it asks these questions that, hey, how long, what's the level of detail, what's the impact of article, blah blah blah, and then the student is supposed to give those articles, give that information, and you ask again, okay, now I've given you this information. Can I give you more information? What additional information you need? So what I make ask the students to do is at least 3 times you need to ask the LLM, do you need more information? And after you ask for more information, then when you're satisfied, it's only then that you tell the GPT to write an article for you. First part. Second part is if you look at some things here, the GPT will not give them this information. So, for example, describe the supply chain major at FGCU. The GPT will give a very lousy information for this, and especially Chat GPT because there is a lag in the training data. It's not current. So this they will have to go to supply chain center's website and find out for themselves. They can't use GPT directly. I have created another question, make connections to a local business. GPT is not going to be able to do this, connect to a local business. Um, so they will have to look maybe in the news sections for some local business, talk to people, a local business, include facts, numbers, data. GPT will give very bad numbers. It's very bad at generating accurate numbers. So what I've done in this assignment is one, I have created this prompts where students have to use a structured prompt. They learn how to use those structured prompts. And number two, I've intentionally created items which the GPT will make errors on, or GPT will not give information on, forcing students to do some element of research on their own, which is what we want ultimately as instructors, some research. But if you have a tool to do something else, well, let's use that tool. So this is the first thing that I would like to I present. That this is, yeah. Any questions on this first assignment? All right. So, problem one solved. Problem two that I came across is this classical Bloom's two sigma problem. This is the same Benjamin Bloom who gave us Bloom's taxonomy. Benjamin Bloom had another very interesting idea that he brought forward, where he said that when we have tutoring or individual one is to one teaching, the effectiveness of that teaching is two standard deviations more than a large classroom based teaching. Now, given the economics that we have, one is to one is definitely not possible for our schools. In fact, we are moving to one is to 200 type of model. And Given that 1 is to 200 model, the teaching effectiveness is substantially a problem. And that's where chatbots are a very effective means of teaching. Okay, because what chatbots do is they create this impression of a 1 is to 1 kind of instruction medium, and so that's why these chatbots, I'm going to show you two chatbots which I've designed, which are very different. I mean, you'll see the same interface, but they're very different designs. So the first is what I call as a contextual chatbot. Okay, so contextual chatbot, what it does is here the student has some structure, very little structure, but some structure, that the student is interviewing John Smith. John Smith is a chief purchasing officer at Surya Motors, which is, and they have a separate assignment where I'm telling them something about Surya Motors. It's an American company, medium-sized automobile company, blah, blah, blah. And he's a chief purchasing officer. And they're supposed to interview this person and learn. I tell them that these are 10 things. I don't tell them the prompts, the questions, but these are 10 things that they need to learn about strategic sourcing. So what do they do is they go here and start talking to the CPO and say, "Hello, I am Piyush." And it takes a little bit of time. "Hi, John Smith, Chief Purchasing Officer of Surya Motors. I have over to how can I assist you today? Tell me something about your job role." So then the student can ask, "Yeah, I oversee strategic, my prime." And then you can ask all kinds of questions. You can, um, tell me about your top five challenges. Okay. Challenges in procurement. Yeah. So it's been trained, okay, but the training is very broad. It's not specific. It's not specified to follow a particular order. And the way it is, it has an inbuilt memory. So that, like for example, here I've asked it for five challenges, and then I say, let's say, tell me more about the second challenge. Second is SRM, supplier relationship management. So it remembered the earlier conversation. So this is a way to test LLM. You say list 5 points and then say tell me about the third point, tell me about the fourth point. So is there a memory function or is it memory less? But you can see that it is a memory based function. But yeah, so this is a very generic um, contextual chatbot. And then what do I do is I have a quiz at the end of this, where based on what they learn with this person, they are supposed to answer a quiz on some generic points about strategic sourcing to confirm that we have had the learning or we have achieved our learning outcomes that and of course, they can always go back, ask more questions. One of the big advantages of this chatbot is where while one it creates one is to one teaching and individualized, the bigger thing is in our classrooms we have students who need, in a class of 50, there are always these two or three inquisitive souls who want more than what we can give them. And a lot of classrooms are designed for the medium level or sometimes the least common denominator, so that nobody creates complaints and writes to the president that, hey, this professor is too difficult. You don't want too much of that happening. And so what you do is we sort of are biased against those high achievers, right? Because our courses are not designed for high achievers. Our courses are designed for lower levels. And with this chatbot, what you're essentially doing is letting people achieve to the extent they want to. If they want to ask more questions, more depth, they can do that. If they just want to get at a basic level, just get the basic things done and answer the question, more power to them. Um, but that's the big advantage of this kind of a chatbot. Um, and you can download. I'll you can download this and use this as a notes. Let me show you. It'll come here. Yeah, this is the chat conversation. You can use this as notes. You know, this becomes, you can study this. The next bot that I want to show you is this directed chatbot. Now, directed chatbot is a more trained chatbot. So what I've created here is that I tell us we have a case study that I use for internal integration. This is, I've written this case study. And the student is talking to me or my avatar or my version of a chatbot to try and the first part is they're trying to just understand the case. Okay, so I'll just give you an example. Hi, I am Jeff. Okay, send. I'm just, because there's Dr. Shah is the bot. I don't want to confuse it. Welcome to our discussion on Saran case. This is the first of many discussion. Da, da, da. So now here, what is Ratikant Desai's decision regarding manufacture and his decision on SKUs? So if you look, what is happening here is that the bot is leading the discussion. It's not the student. In the previous case, the student was asking questions and the bot was answering. And here we have reversed the roles. The bot is leading the discussion. And I'll just put the right answers, okay? Saying that um, expand the factory in Vapi and enter the new market with top 20 SKUs. Correct. So it says, now can you tell me? So if you look at it, it's going sequential. It has been trained to ask specific questions, take you through those questions, and over time, it'll help you understand the case, okay? That ensure that you know the premise. And then you can take, now think of the beauty of this. What we typically do in Canvas discussion boards or Blackboard, they're not discussion boxes, okay? A discussion is when two fro happen. That's when a discussion is. On Canvas, somebody posts something and one person responds, and that's it. Okay. So while we may call it discussion boards and feel happy that we created a discussion in the class, it is definitely not um, a discussion. Okay. But here, what you see is you're actually creating a discussion, because then, I mean, again, we don't have enough time, but if you go through this process, it'll ask you a series of probing questions. Why this? Why this thing? Give me an answer. Go research this, come back and tell me and give me an answer. Um, and then I make them, after they have completed this discussion, I make them download this chat and submit that as an assignment. Okay. This chat. And what I do is I create this as a peer reviewed exercise so that people can learn from each other's chat and some kind of probing questions. So we have a question from Dr. Call asking that what is meant by training. So what is happening here is that the front end that you see is basically front end. It's a program I've designed in R. That's another story from some other time. But um, so the front end is this is the R. Okay, this is the R based front end, and the back end is basically OpenAI. Um, oh, you don't have to be a program. I'll give you some links. Um, So the backend is OpenAI. Okay, that's the backend. Now, uh, so OpenAI is very generic, right? It'll give you answers. You ask OpenAI, I want you to pretend to be Tom Cruise and give me answers as Tom Cruise. It'll start answering like Tom Cruise. But you don't want it to do it. So you create an interface where you say that, hey, I want you to behave as Dr. Shah. And when I say I want you to behave as Dr. Shah, these are the characteristics of Dr. Shah, da da da. And you sort of, training is not actually the right word, but yeah, what you're actually doing here is you're constraining the bot to behave in a particular manner. So that's what I meant by this idea of training. It's actually constraining the bot in a particular behavior. And in this current discussion, I've created a flow chart where I sort of, you know, it takes a lot of time to understand how the chatbot thinks, and but you train it to ask questions in a flow. You have some expected student responses, and then based on that, you build this kind of system. And I'll give you these links, okay, in a bit. And I'll give you, I've created a YouTube just to give you, do I have that permission? Da-da-da. So I've created a playlist on YouTube on how to make these chatbots for education. And it has all the details that you would need to make these chatbot. So I'll share the link also of this playlist. And yeah, that's okay. You can, it's accessible. Okay, going back to our presentation. So this was the thing about chatbots. Um, so Ethan Mollick has in fact given us multiple roles for chatbots. I've used two chatbots. My usage is closer to a mentor and a tutor. So the CPO, Chief Purchasing Officer, was more like a mentor chatbot, and the Talk with Dr. Shah was more like a tutor chatbot. So these are various roles that chatbots can take. And if you read Maulik's paper, he actually describes on the basics, or not actually basics, the details of how to um, create these personalities, and what are the tasks. So you use all these. So one of the projects that I'm working on is the student project, where what I'm going to tell my student is, hey, you are an MBA student, or you are this, and you have an undergraduate student. And why don't you explain this topic to the undergraduate student so that the student understands? And the bot will mimic the undergraduate student. So that is the student kind of bot that I'm working on currently. Yeah, so what else? You can actually create lots of content, okay? There is something which I believe in academics is the tyranny of the publishers. I mean, stupid textbook should not cost 100, and plus dollars. It's absolutely dumb, absolutely stupid. Sorry for using those terminologies, but I'm very this is something that uh, and professors don't make any money out of uh, um, so what you can, so textbook, you see content, you can't write, hey, chat GPT, create a textbook out of supply chain. It doesn't work like that, guys. It'll give you a very, it is a lot of work, but the idea, what it does is, chat GPTs and LLMs of the world are excellent copywriters and excellent idea generators. They're not excellent writers per se, right? So you can use them to generate ideas. So the way I do is, I'll show you. So one of the things that I have designed is this approach in for writing, creating content. I call it the rodeo method. This is something that I have designed, where I say that first, create this premise that I am an instructor, da, 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 whatever is the instructor, or I want to write a book, or I want to write a chapter, or I want to write a note on this. That's the first the role, and then give the outline. What are you doing it? What's your teaching learning objectives of that content, or that specific paragraph, whatever. Give details, and then give expectations that I then and whatever. And when you give this entire thing, even then GPT will not generate a very good content, because you'll have to give specific contents. Do this, do this, do this, and then it'll copyright it. Okay, so it compresses the lead time to do it. It improves the writing style a lot. But again, it's ultimately you. who is writing it. It's not GPT. Because if you use GPT to write it, trust me, it doesn't do a good job. Another thing of content is this quiz creation. So this is again, I just created this for procurement since we are talking about that. So you can ask. I feel first the step one is I've done this. I've created this promise to with ChatGPT saying this is what you're doing. Da da da. I'm an instructor. I have this class. I want the learning outcome. This already is done. And after getting this done, I ask it to create these quizzes. And one of the most interesting things I always do is ask it to give an answer in a format like this, which if you use the right tool and convert it, it is directly uploadable into Canvas or Blackboard. So you don't want to, we have to learn to be lazy. We don't want to create a word kind of an assignment and then copy paste that assignment one by one choice at a time on Canvas or Blackboard. But if we write it in this format, there are tools available which would directly upload it on Canvas. So that's the larger models that I wanted to share. There's other things that I've created is grading. And my pitch here is if students can be lazy in writing using Chat GPT for writing assignments, I can be lazier and I can use it for grading. That's my pitch. So what we do here is it's again it's I'm trying to make it simple. This is not as simple. Step one is use Canvas allows you an API. I'm sure Blackboard allows also. Whatever learning management system you use allows it. So use that API and download all the assignments into a folder on your computer. Okay. And the beauty of that download is you can name it according to your convention. I have tried to tell the students to name things in a particular way. Somehow that never works. So you can name it in the convention, and then you use GPT to grade it. Again, I have a ready-made program which can grade Excel sheets, uh, but text-based it's difficult. Again, some other time if you want to discuss more, I'll tell you where it works, where it does not work, but you can do it. And then once you've created this grading, you can create a CSV of the points and the notes, and you can automatically upload those things on Canvas so that things work out. But this is you can create so many more things like that. But yeah, we are time 30. I am exactly trying to match that. And just trying to show you one thing. This is an image I created in Chat GPT. And except thank you, everything else is crap. Nothing else is accurate. And just to tell you that how limited Chat GPT is in its image, it can't create image of text. So nothing, none of these words mean thank you, okay? Except thank you, everything is inaccurate. So, but it looks nice. Yeah, it has its limitations, but it was a quick run through and let me paste the links that I promised. Sorry, I'm extending it by a minute.
Oh, yep, that's
Um,
thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Yes. And then also if you wouldn't mind emailing me the PowerPoint and emailing
yeah.
me the links, and then I'll send, especially for your YouTube page, because I think a lot of people really liked that idea of the chatbot
Mm-hmm.
and how to get started doing that. I think that's a, you know, I really liked how you talked about how to use Chat GPT to enhance students' learning.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that was very helpful. And I think with the links you're providing, and that I'll also email out today, that I think it'll be really helpful for people that want to get started. So yeah, we could have probably done this in an 8-hour seminar, but
Yes,
the
yes.
idea, the idea of the 30 minutes is just to sort of introduce and provide resources to move forward. Um, if people wouldn't mind turning on their cameras, I'd like to take a quick picture. And Dr. Shah, if you wouldn't mind putting up your maybe your first slide for the picture. So if people wouldn't mind putting on their camera. Okay, we got people. Um, Okie doke. Okay, and I'm going to take a quick picture. Okay. Were there any questions as we are finishing up? Okay. Well, thank you so much for the links. I think everyone's going to be using that. Thank you all so much for attending. Please follow, and I'll send you the link in my email, the AMA Higher Ed SIG website. What we've done this year is we've started posting all the videos. So the video for this will be posted probably in the next week or so. And thank you so much all for your time, and have a great day and a great finish to everybody's semester. And for those of you that it's evening, have a wonderful evening. And for everyone else, have a great start to your day. Take care.
Thank
And
you.
thank you,
Thank you for
Dr.
having me.
Shah.
Thank you, Piyush. Thank you, Piyush.
Thank you.
Nice information. Excellent.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was great.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.